When a forgotten player trashed a global icon, no one expected the night to end with a lesson that left millions speechless. Before we dive in, drop a 1 in the comments if you're hyped for this story, smash that like button and subscribe. Stick around, there's a jaw-dropping twist at the end you won't see coming. The New York studio pulsed with electric anticipation, its sleek black walls gleaming under the harsh studio lights, casting sharp shadows across the polished floor. The air hummed with the low buzz of cameras and the hurried whispers of producers darting backstage. This was the final whistle, the hottest sports talk show in America, where every word could ignite a firestorm. Tonight, the topic was Cristiano Ronaldo, the soccer legend whose name alone sparked reverence and rivalry in equal measure. The audience, packed into plush seats, leaned forward, their eyes glued to the massive LED screens flashing Ronaldo's iconic number 7 jersey. Social media was already ablaze, hashtags like #RonaldoLegacy trending before the show even began. In the control room, young producer Emily Parker, her ponytail bouncing as she paced, scanned the X feeds on her tablet. She was a Ronaldo fan, her cubicle plastered with photos of his gravity-defying headers. She felt the weight of the moment, knowing tonight's debate could redefine how America saw her idol. On the set, host Alex Turner adjusted his navy blazer, his practiced smile masking the tension coiling in his gut. He'd hosted 1,000 shows, but this one felt different, like a storm brewing just out of sight. To his left sat Mia Chen, a former collegiate soccer star turned analyst, her sharp eyes scanning her notes. To his right was Jake Rodriguez, a retired MLS midfielder with a knack for lightening the mood. And then there was Tom the Bulldog Harris, the ex-soccer player whose name still lingered in American sports lore. Tom's face was a mask of stone, his jaw tight, his faded U.S. national team jacket clinging to his broad shoulders like a relic of lost glory. His eyes, dark and unyielding, carried a bitterness that hadn't faded since his career fizzled out 2 decades ago. Once a promising striker, Tom had been sidelined by injuries and overshadowed by global stars like Ronaldo. Now, as a pundit, he was known for his razor-sharp critiques, often tinged with something darker, envy, some whispered. Backstage, Emily overheard Tom muttering to a sound tech, his voice low and venomous. "Ronaldo's just a showboat," he sneered, adjusting his mic. "All flash, no substance." Emily's stomach twisted. She gripped her clipboard, her knuckles whitening. She'd grown up watching Ronaldo's relentless drive, his late-night training sessions legendary even in her small Ohio town. To hear him reduced to a caricature stung. She slipped back to the control room, her mind racing. The show's intro music blared, a pulsing beat that rattled the studio. Alex's voice boomed, welcoming millions of viewers across the country. "Tonight, we dive into the legacy of Cristiano Ronaldo," he said, his tone smooth but charged. "Genius or overhyped? Let's find out." The cameras panned to Tom, whose lips curled into a faint, almost predatory smile. Tom leaned into his mic, his voice gravelly, deliberate. "Look, Ronaldo's got skills, no doubt," he began, his words slicing through the air. "But let's not kid ourselves. He's more brand than baller. The guy's obsessed with his image. Those ads, that swagger, it's all ego." The studio fell silent, the weight of his words hanging like smoke. Mia's pen froze mid-note, her brows knitting. Jake shifted in his seat, his easy grin faltering. Alex, ever the pro, tried to pivot. "Strong take, Tom," he said, forcing a chuckle. "But those goals, over 900 at this point, don't they speak for themselves?" Tom shook his head, undeterred. "Goals don't tell the whole story," he snapped. "Ronaldo's about personal glory, not team play. He's no Pele, no Messi. He's a media darling who's coasted on hype." The audience gasped, a low ripple of shock spreading through the room. Emily, watching from the control room, felt her chest tighten. She tapped her headset, whispering to the director. "This is getting ugly," she said. "We need balance." On set, Mia jumped in, her voice calm but firm. "Tom, that's harsh," she said. "Ronaldo's work ethic is insane. Teammates say he's the first in, last out. That's not hype. That's hustle." Tom scoffed, crossing his arms. "Work ethic? Sure, for the cameras," he said. "I heard stories from Euro camps. Guy was more focused on his hair than drills." Jake, trying to lighten the mood, chuckled. "Come on, Tom, that hair's iconic," he said, but his joke landed flat. The tension was palpable, a live wire sparking between them. Social media exploded. X posts flooded Emily's screen. Tom's jealous AF mad Ronaldo GOAT, one read. Another. Bulldogs spitting facts. Ronaldo's overrated. Fans posted clips of Ronaldo's bicycle kick against Juventus, his clutch Champions League goals. The divide was stark. Loyalists versus skeptics, each side digging in. In the studio, Alex sensed the show slipping into chaos. He signaled the producer to roll a highlight reel. The screens lit up with Ronaldo's magic, a free kick curling past a helpless keeper, a sprint leaving defenders in the dust, that trademark leap-defying physics. The crowd cheered, their claps echoing like thunder. Even Mia's eyes softened, a flicker of awe breaking through her professionalism. But Tom's face remained cold, his gaze fixed on the screen as if watching a ghost. Emily, her heart pounding, leaned into her mic. "Alex, we need to shake this up," she urged. "What if we got a surprise guest?" The director shot her a skeptical look, but Emily pressed on. "Ronaldo's team follows the show. I can reach out." Back on set, Tom wasn't done. He leaned forward, his voice rising. "You want to talk legacy?" he said. "Ronaldo's legacy is selfies and billboards. He's not about the game. He's about the fame." The words landed like a punch. Mia's jaw clenched, her fingers tapping her notes. "That's unfair," she countered. "He's raised the bar, fitness, discipline, longevity. Name another player at his age doing what he does." Tom smirked, unfazed. "Longevity? More like hogging the spotlight," he said. "He could have retired years ago. Let others shine." But no, it's always about him. The studio felt like a pressure cooker, ready to burst. Alex, sweat beading on his brow, tried to steer back. "Let's hear from Jake," he said. Jake, usually the peacemaker, looked uneasy. "Tom, I get it, man," he said. "Ronaldo's intense. But that drive? It's why he's still scoring at 40. You can't fake that." Tom rolled his eyes, muttering under his breath. The cameras caught it, zooming in on his scowl. Emily, in the control room, was frantic. She'd sent a message to Ronaldo's PR team, a long shot born of desperation. Her phone buzzed. A reply. Her eyes widened. "They're interested," she whispered, her voice trembling with excitement. She typed furiously, outlining the situation. On set, the debate raged on. Mia pulled up stats on her tablet, her voice steady but sharp. "Tom, he's got 5 Ballon d'Ors, 4 Champions Leagues," she said. "You're saying that's all marketing?" Tom leaned back, his smirk fading into something harder. "Trophies don't mean heart," he said. "I played with guys who gave everything, no spotlight. Ronaldo, he's in it for the glory." The audience murmured, some nodding, others shaking their heads. The divide was clear, and Tom seemed to revel in it, his confidence growing with every jab. Alex, sensing the need for a break, cut to commercial. The lights dimmed, but the tension lingered, thick and unshakable. Backstage, Emily's phone buzzed again. Ronaldo's team was on board. They'd get him on the line. Her heart raced as she relayed the news to the director, who gave a reluctant nod. "This better work, Parker," he said. Emily grinned, adrenaline surging. She imagined Ronaldo's voice cutting through Tom's venom, setting the record straight. On set, the show resumed, the intro music blaring once more. Alex, his composure regained, leaned into the camera. "We're back, and things are heating up," he said. "Tom, you've got strong feelings about Ronaldo. Anything to add?" Tom, emboldened, didn't hesitate. "I'll say this," he began, his voice dripping with disdain. "Ronaldo's a product, not a player. He sold you all on this GOAT myth, but strip away the hype, and what's left? A guy who loves the mirror more than the pitch." The studio erupted, boos mixing with scattered cheers. Mia shook her head, her patience thinning. Jake tried to jump in, but Tom waved him off. "I'm not done," he said. "I knew guys who lived for the game, not the headlines. Ronaldo? He's the opposite." The words hung heavy, a challenge thrown to the world. Emily, watching from the control room, felt a fire in her chest. Her phone buzzed, a final confirmation. Ronaldo was ready. She signaled Alex through his earpiece, her voice urgent. "We've got him," she said. Alex's eyes flickered with surprise, but he kept his cool. The cameras zoomed in as he leaned forward, his voice dropping to a dramatic hush. Hold that thought, Tom, he said. We've got a surprise caller, someone who's been listening to every word. Stay tuned, folks. This is about to get real. The studio fell silent, every eye locked on the host, the air crackling with anticipation. The studio lights burned brighter, as if mirroring the electric tension gripping the final whistle set. Every eye was locked on the massive speakers mounted above, where a faint crackle signaled the incoming call. Host Alex Turner, his navy blazer slightly rumpled from the heated debate, leaned forward, his voice steady but laced with anticipation. "Folks, we've got a special guest joining us live," he announced, his words slicing through the hushed room. "Someone who's been following this fiery discussion. Let's hear from him." The audience held its breath, the air thick with expectation. In the control room, young producer Emily Parker clutched her clipboard, her heart pounding like a drum. She'd pulled off the impossible, securing Cristiano Ronaldo for a surprise call-in. Her tablet glowed with X posts, fans already speculating, "Is it CR7? No way." Back on set, Tom, the bulldog Harris, sat rigid, his arms crossed, his scowl deepening. Mia Chen, the sharp-eyed analyst, exchanged a glance with Jake Rodriguez, the easygoing ex-MLS star, both sensing the tide was about to turn. The speakers hummed, and then it came, a voice, smooth, confident, unmistakable. "Hey, Alex, thanks for having me," Ronaldo said, his tone warm, almost playful, carrying that faint Portuguese accent that had charmed millions. The studio erupted in gasps and scattered applause. The LED screens flashed his name in bold, Cristiano Ronaldo. Emily pumped her fist in the control room, her eyes gleaming with triumph. Social media exploded, hashtags like #Ronaldo Speaks and #CR7Live surging to the top of X trends. Fans posted grainy clips of his iconic celebrations, the SEO echoing in stadiums worldwide. Ronaldo's voice filled the studio, calm but commanding. "I heard what's been said tonight," he began, "and I just want to say, I'm grateful for the passion people have for this game. It's what keeps soccer alive." Tom shifted in his seat, his jaw tightening, but he said nothing, his eyes locked on the floor. Alex, seizing the moment, leaned in. "Cristiano, Tom's been pretty vocal, saying you're more about branding than soccer, that your legacy's built on hype. What's your take?" The question hung heavy, a challenge wrapped in velvet. Ronaldo paused, the silence deliberate, almost cinematic. Then he chuckled softly, disarming the tension. "Look, I'm not perfect," he said. "Nobody is. But every goal, every sprint, every late-night session in the gym, that's not for cameras. That's for the love of the game, for the fans who believe in me, for the kid I used to be, dreaming big in Madeira." The studio fell silent, Ronaldo's words sinking in like a slow tide. Mia's lips curved into a small smile, her respect for him clear. Jake nodded, his usual grin replaced by a look of quiet admiration. Even the audience, usually rowdy, sat rapt, hanging on every syllable. Emily, in the control room, felt a lump in her throat. She remembered watching Ronaldo's games with her dad in their Ohio living room, his relentless drive inspiring her to push through high school track meets. Ronaldo continued, his voice steady but raw. "I grew up with nothing," he said. "No fancy academies, no silver spoon. My mom worked 3 jobs. I trained on dirt fields, kicking a ball that was more tape than leather. Every step I took, I carried that hunger. Still do." The screens behind the set flickered to life, showing clips of a young Ronaldo, his skinny frame weaving through defenders in Portugal's youth leagues. The crowd murmured, some wiping their eyes. Mia seized the moment, her voice cutting through. "That's what people miss, Tom," she said, turning to the ex-player. "Ronaldo's not just talent, he's grit. He outworked everyone to get here." Tom's face twitched, his confidence wavering, but he doubled down. "Sure, he's worked hard," he said, his tone sharp. "But it's always about him. I was at a Euro camp once. Guy was late to drills, too busy signing autographs. Team players don't do that." The accusation landed like a grenade. Jake, usually the peacemaker, shook his head. "Come on, Tom," he said. "I played against his teams. The guy's a leader. I saw him rally teammates after blown games, stay late to mentor rookies." Mia nodded, pulling up a stat on her tablet. "He's got over 300 assists, Tom," she said. "That's not selfish. That's team play." The audience clapped, their support for Ronaldo swelling. On X, fans posted videos of Ronaldo setting up teammates, his precision passes as lethal as his goals. Emily, monitoring the feeds, saw a tweet from a former teammate. CR7 always had our backs. Don't believe the hate. She forwarded it to the director, urging him to share it on air. Ronaldo's voice returned, unruffled by Tom's jab. Tom, I respect your opinion, he said, his words measured. I've made mistakes. I've had moments I do differently, but I never played for critics. I played for the fans, for the kids watching in places like I grew up, who need to believe they can make it. His voice softened, carrying a rare vulnerability. When I was 12, I left my family to chase this dream. Cried myself to sleep some nights, missing home. But I kept going. Not for fame, but because soccer was my way out. My way to make my mom proud. The studio was a sea of stunned faces. Alex, his usual Polish cracking, wiped his brow. That's powerful, Cristiano, he said. Most don't know that side of you. The screens shifted to images of Ronaldo's philanthropy, building schools in Madeira, visiting children's hospitals, his smile as bright off the field as on. Jake jumped in, his voice earnest. That's what gets me, he said. The guy's got a foundation, funds cancer research. That's not just branding. That's heart. Tom's eyes flickered, his hands clenching. For the first time, he looked unsettled, his armor cracking under the weight of Ronaldo's sincerity. Emily, in the control room, was a whirlwind of action. She'd connected with a Ronaldo fan group on X, who were live-streaming reactions from a sports bar in Miami. Get this on air, she told the director, her voice urgent. The screens cut to the bar, where fans in Ronaldo jerseys chanted his name, holding up signs. CR7X Legend. The energy was infectious, spilling back into the studio. Alex, sensing the moment, pushed forward. Cristiano, Tom mentioned discipline, he said. He said you've let teams down. Any response? Ronaldo's laugh was soft, almost wistful. Discipline's why I'm still here, he said. I'm 40, still scoring. That's not luck. It's waking up at 5 a.m., training when others sleep, eating right when others don't. If I was late once, I owned it, but I never stopped giving everything. The audience roared, their applause shaking the studio. Mia clapped, her eyes shining. Jake grinned, pointing at the screen. That's the GOAT talking, he said. Tom, cornered, tried to pivot. Fine, he's dedicated, he said, his voice strained. But it's still about him, always has been. He's not a captain who lifts others, he lifts himself. The words felt hollow now, out of place against Ronaldo's raw honesty. Mia shot back, her voice fierce. You're wrong, Tom, she said. I've talked to players he's mentored. He's the guy pushing teammates to be better, staying late to help them drill. That's leadership. Social media was a tidal wave now. X posts poured in, fans sharing stories of Ronaldo's kindness, signing jerseys for kids after games, paying for a fan's surgery. Emily, her fingers flying across her tablet, retweeted a viral thread from a journalist. Ronaldo's work ethic is unmatched. Tom's just bitter. The studio screens flashed the tweet, amplifying the sentiment. Back on set, Tom's face was a storm of conflict, his earlier bravado fading. He opened his mouth, then closed it, his eyes darting to the screens showing Ronaldo's highlights, his Champions League heroics, his World Cup battles. The crowd's cheers grew louder, a wave of adoration for the man on the line. Ronaldo's voice returned, steady as ever. I don't need everyone to love me, he said, but I hope I've inspired someone out there to chase their dream, to work hard, to believe in themselves. That's my legacy. Not just goals, but heart. The words landed like a thunderclap, silencing the studio. Even Alex, the seasoned host, was at a loss, his eyes glistening. The audience stood, their applause deafening. Emily, tears in her eyes, whispered to the director, "This is history." The screens showed X posts flooding in. Ronaldo just shut it down, one read. Another, Tom's done. CR7's the real deal. Tom sat frozen, his hands clasped tightly, his face a mix of defiance and doubt. For the first time, he looked small, overshadowed by the weight of Ronaldo's words. Mia, sensing the shift, softened her tone. Tom, you've got to admit, she said, that kind of passion, that story, it's why he's loved. Jake nodded, adding, "Man, he's not just a player. He's a movement." The studio was alive with emotion, the air charged with a sense of awe. Emily, in the control room, felt her chest swell with pride. She'd made this moment happen, and it was bigger than she'd dreamed. Alex, regaining his composure, leaned into the mic. "Cristiano, you've given us a lot to think about," he said. "Any final words?" Ronaldo's voice was calm, almost serene. "Just keep loving the game," he said. "It's bigger than all of us. Thanks for the support. And to Tom, keep speaking your truth. It's all part of the journey." The call ended, the speakers falling silent. The studio was a mix of stunned silence and scattered cheers, the weight of Ronaldo's grace lingering. Tom stared at the table, his shoulders slumped, the fight drained from him. The screens flashed one last image, Ronaldo's iconic celebration, arms spread, soaking in the love of millions. The chapter closed with the studio buzzing, X ablaze, and a sense that something profound had just unfolded. The studio of the final whistle was a quiet storm, the echo of Cristiano Ronaldo's voice still reverberating in the air like a fading anthem. The lights, once harsh and unrelenting, seemed softer now, casting a warm glow over the set. The audience sat hushed, their earlier cheers replaced by a reverent silence, as if they'd just witnessed something sacred. Host Alex Turner, his tie slightly loosened, leaned back in his chair, his eyes reflecting a mix of awe and exhaustion. Mia Chen, the sharp analyst, scribbled a final note on her pad, her face softened by a rare smile. Jake Rodriguez, the ex-MLS star, tapped his fingers on the table, his grin hinting at the weight of the moment. And then there was Tom, the bulldog, Harris, the ex-player whose bitter words had sparked this firestorm. He sat slumped, his broad shoulders hunched, his faded U.S. national team jacket looking heavier than ever. His eyes, once sharp with defiance, now stared at the table, lost in a fog of self-doubt. In the control room, young producer Emily Parker stood frozen, her clipboard pressed to her chest, her heart still racing from Ronaldo's words. She'd made this happen, and now the world was watching. Alex cleared his throat, his voice cutting through the stillness. "Well, folks," he said, his tone softer than usual. "That was something else." He glanced at Tom, whose silence was louder than any critique he'd thrown. The camera zoomed in, catching the faint tremor in Tom's hands. The LED screens behind the set flickered, showing X posts pouring in. "Ronaldo just taught a masterclass in class," one read. Another, "Tom's gotta be rethinking his life RN." Emily, her tablet glowing, saw the hashtags #CR7, Legacy, and #the final whistle trending worldwide. Fans shared clips of Ronaldo's call, his raw story of struggle and heart going viral. The Miami Sports Bar feed, still live, showed fans toasting Ronaldo's name, their jerseys a sea of number 7s. Emily's eyes stung with pride. She'd grown up idolizing Ronaldo, and tonight he'd shown why. Mia broke the silence, her voice steady but warm. "Tom," she said, turning to him, "you heard Cristiano. That's not just a player. That's a man who's lived for this game, flaws and all. What do you think now?" The question was gentle, but it carried weight, like a hand extended to a man drowning. Tom's jaw tightened, his eyes flicking up to meet hers, then dropping again. The studio held its breath, every viewer at home leaning closer to their screens. Jake, sensing Tom's struggle, leaned forward. "Man, it's okay to rethink things," he said, his voice low, almost brotherly. "We've all been there." Tom's hands unclenched, his fingers tracing the edge of the table, as if searching for something solid to hold onto. The cameras caught every micro-expression, amplifying his vulnerability to millions. Finally, Tom spoke, his voice rough, barely above a whisper. I got it wrong," he said, the words scraping out like gravel. The studio gasped, a soft ripple of shock. Alex's eyebrows shot up, but he stayed silent, letting the moment unfold. Tom's eyes lifted, meeting the camera for the first time in what felt like hours. Listening to him, he continued, his voice cracking, "I realized I've been carrying something heavy, something that's not about him, it's about me." The confession hung in the air, raw and unpolished. Mia's pen froze, her eyes wide with empathy. Jake nodded, a quiet respect in his gaze. Emily, in the control room, felt her throat tighten. She'd seen Tom as the villain, but now he was just a man, broken and human. Tom leaned forward, his hands trembling. "I was good once," he said, his voice steadier now. "Not Ronaldo good, but good enough to dream. I was 22, starting for the US team, scouts talking big. Then my knee blew out, twice. Career over by 25. The studio was silent, the weight of his story sinking in. The audience, usually quick to judge, listened, their faces softening. "I watched guys like Ronaldo rise," Tom said, "and it ate at me. He had everything. Talent, drive, luck. I told myself he didn't deserve it, that he was just a showboat. But tonight," he paused, swallowing hard. "Tonight, I saw the kid from Madeira, not the superstar. And I realized I've been jealous of a guy who just worked harder than me." The words landed like a thunderclap, shaking the room. Mia reached out, touching Tom's arm briefly, a gesture of solidarity. Jake clapped slowly, his grin returning. "That's real, man," he said. "Takes guts to say that." Alex, his composure regained, nodded. "Tom, that's powerful," he said. "Not many can own up like that on live TV." The screens flashed X reactions. "Respect to Tom for coming clean," one post read. Another, "This show just went from drama to therapy." Emily, tears in her eyes, retweeted a fan's post. "Tom's redemption arc is wild. Ronaldo's still the GOAT." The director, usually gruff, gave her a nod. "Good call, Parker," he said, his voice gruff with approval. Alex shifted gears, sensing the need to wrap the moment. "Let's open this up," he said, turning to Mia and Jake. "What's Ronaldo's legacy mean to you after this?" Mia smiled, her voice warm. "He's proof you can come from nothing and change the world," she said. "But it's his heart, those hospital visits, those schools he's built, that seals it for me." Jake nodded, leaning back. "He's the guy who makes kids believe they can fly," he said. "That's bigger than any trophy." The audience clapped, their applause swelling into a roar. The screens showed more X posts, fans sharing photos of Ronaldo with kids, his smile lighting up their faces. Emily's tablet buzzed with a message from the Miami fan group. "Tell CR7 we love him." She grinned, forwarding it to the team. Tom, still quiet, looked up, his eyes clearer now. "Can I say something else?" he asked, his voice tentative. Alex nodded, gesturing for him to go on. Tom took a deep breath, facing the camera. "Cristiano, if you're still listening," he said, "I'm sorry. I let my own failures cloud what you've done. You're the real deal." The studio erupted, the audience on their feet, their cheers shaking the walls. Mia clapped, her eyes shining. Jake pumped his fist, shouting, "That's my man!" Even Alex, the unflappable host, looked moved, his smile genuine. Emily, in the control room, wiped her eyes, her heart full. She'd expected a showdown, not a reckoning. The show cut to commercial, the lights dimming briefly. Backstage, the crew buzzed with excitement, their usual cynicism replaced by awe. Emily slipped out, needing air. She stepped into the cool New York night, the city's hum grounding her. Her phone buzzed, a text from her dad. "Saw the show. Proud of you, kid." She smiled, her thoughts drifting to Ronaldo's words about inspiring others. She'd felt that spark tonight, not just from him, but from Tom's courage. Back inside, the show resumed, Alex wrapping up. "Folks, this is why we love sports," he said, his voice rich with emotion. "It's not just goals or trophies. It's about heart growth and moments like this." The audience clapped, their energy electric. As the credits rolled, the crew headed to a nearby sports bar, a post-show ritual. Emily joined them, her clipboard swapped for a soda. The bar was packed, TVs replaying Ronaldo's call. Tom sat in a corner booth, nursing a water, his face quieter now. Emily hesitated, then approached. "Hey, Tom," she said, her voice soft. He looked up, surprised. "Emily, right?" he said. "Thanks for whatever you did to get him on." She smiled, sitting across from him. "I grew up watching Ronaldo," she said. "He's why I pushed to work in sports. Tonight, you showed me something too. How hard it is to let go of pain. Tom's eyes softened, a faint smile breaking through. Kid, you're all right, he said. I'm trying to find my way back. Maybe I'll start by cheering for the guy. The bar erupted as Ronaldo's face flashed on the screens. A new X post. It was a video from him, filmed in a gym, sweat glistening on his brow. Thanks for the love tonight, he said, his smile wide. Keep chasing your dreams and never stop believing. The crowd cheered, raising glasses. Emily's phone buzzed with X notifications. CR7's still king, one read. Another. Tom's apology hit hard. Respect. The hashtags hashtag Ronaldo legacy and hashtag the final whistle dominated, the story spreading like wildfire. Back at the bar, Mia and Jake joined Tom and Emily, their laughter easing the night's tension. To growth, Mia toasted, raising her drink. Tom clinked his glass, his smile genuine for the first time in years. Later, Emily stepped outside, the city lights sparkling like stars. She thought of Ronaldo's journey, Tom's redemption, and her own small role in it all. She'd come to New York chasing a dream, just like Ronaldo had left Madeira. Tonight, she felt closer to it. Back inside, Tom lingered, chatting with a young fan who'd recognized him. You were brave, man, the kid said. Tom ruffled his hair, a spark of purpose in his eyes. The next day, he'd sign up to coach a local youth team, his first step toward healing. Ronaldo, halfway across the world, read the X posts, his smile widening. He'd faced critics before, but tonight, he'd won something bigger, hearts. The night faded, but its lessons lingered, a testament to the power of sports to heal, unite, and inspire. The story of a tale of envy and redemption unfolds like a modern parable, set against the backdrop of a high-stakes American sports talk show, The Final Whistle. It's a narrative that transcends soccer, diving deep into the human heart, its flaws, its struggles, and its capacity for growth. Through the clash between Tom the Bulldog Harris, a bitter ex-player, and Cristiano Ronaldo, a global icon, we're given a front-row seat to a raw emotional journey. The story's power lies not just in its drama but in the universal lessons it offers, lessons that resonate far beyond the studio lights and social media buzz. As I reflect on this tale, I find myself drawn to its themes of envy, authenticity, resilience, and redemption, each carrying practical insights we can weave into our own lives. First, let's talk about envy, the spark that ignites the story. Tom's sharp critiques of Ronaldo, calling him a showboat, more brand than baller, stem from a deep well of personal resentment. His career, cut short by injury, left him watching others like Ronaldo soar to heights he could only dream of. Envy is a universal emotion, one we've all felt at some point. Maybe it's a coworker who lands the promotion we wanted, a friend whose life seems effortlessly perfect, or even a stranger whose success stings because it mirrors our own unfulfilled goals. Tom's story hits hard because it's so relatable. His bitterness blinds him to Ronaldo's grind, reducing a lifetime of sacrifice to hype. In my own life, I've caught myself envying others' wins, whether it's a colleague's raise or a peer's viral post. The lesson here is clear. Envy distorts reality. It's a lens that magnifies others' successes while shrinking our own. To apply this, I've started practicing gratitude when envy creeps in, writing down 3 things I'm thankful for. My health, my family, a small win at work shifts my focus. It's not about denying someone else's shine, but about recognizing my own path. Tom's journey reminds us to check our envy at the door, replacing it with self-reflection and appreciation for what we've got. Then there's authenticity, embodied by Ronaldo's response. When he joins the show via a surprise call, he doesn't lash out or defend his ego. Instead, he speaks from the heart, sharing his struggles as a kid in Madeira, training on dirt fields with a patched-up ball. His voice, calm and unguarded, cuts through Tom's venom like a knife through fog. In a world obsessed with polished images, Instagram filters, curated LinkedIn profiles, Ronaldo's raw honesty is a breath of fresh air. He admits his flaws, owns his mistakes, but stands firm in his love for the game. This resonates deeply in American culture, where we value the real over the rehearsed. Think of the admiration for athletes like Serena Williams, Or musicians like Beyoncé, who share their struggles alongside their triumphs. Ronaldo's authenticity teaches us to embrace our true selves, imperfections and all. In my life, I've often felt pressure to project a perfect front, flawless work presentations, witty social media posts. But watching Ronaldo, I'm reminded that vulnerability builds connection. I've started being more open about my challenges, whether it's admitting to a friend I'm overwhelmed or sharing a work mistake to learn from it. Authenticity isn't weakness, it's strength that inspires others. Resilience is another pillar of this story, and Ronaldo's life is its blueprint. His tale of rising from poverty, leaving home at 12, and crying himself to sleep while chasing his dream paints a picture of relentless grit. He's 40, still scoring goals, still outworking players half his age. That's not luck, it's discipline, the kind that wakes you at 5 a.m. for training when the world's still asleep. In American culture, we celebrate this hustle. From the rags to riches stories of entrepreneurs like Elon Musk to athletes like LeBron James who defy age and odds. Ronaldo's resilience reminds me that success isn't a straight line. Life throws curveballs, job rejections, failed projects, personal setbacks. I've faced my share, like bombing a big presentation or missing a deadline. But Ronaldo's story pushes me to keep going, to treat setbacks as setups for comebacks. Practically, I've adopted small habits to build resilience, setting daily goals, even tiny ones like a 10-minute workout, and reflecting on past wins to fuel my drive. Resilience isn't about never falling, it's about getting up every time. Redemption, though, is the story's heart, and Tom's arc is its pulse. His confession, admitting his envy, his pain from a career cut short, is a moment of raw courage. In a culture that often demands we tough it out, Tom's vulnerability is radical. He doesn't just apologize, he owns his flaws, recognizing that his bitterness was about his own unhealed wounds, not Ronaldo's success. This mirrors stories we admire in America, like Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback from personal struggles to Iron Man stardom. Tom's redemption teaches us that it's never too late to change the narrative. I've had moments where I've held grudges or lashed out, like snapping at a friend during a bad day. Tom's story inspires me to own those moments, to apologize sincerely, and to seek growth. I've started journaling about conflicts, asking myself, what's really driving my reaction? This self-awareness helps me mend relationships and move forward. Redemption isn't about erasing the past, it's about building a better future. The story also highlights the power of community, seen in the roles of Mia, Jake, and Emily. Mia's fierce defense of Ronaldo, Jake's empathy toward Tom, and Emily's behind-the-scenes hustle to get Ronaldo on air show how people shape outcomes. In American culture, we value teamwork. Think of the camaraderie in sports teams or startup crews. Their actions remind me that no one succeeds alone. I've leaned on my own community, friends who cheer my wins, mentors who guide me through flops. To apply this, I make time to support others, whether it's hyping a friend's project or listening when they need to vent. Community amplifies our impact, turning individual sparks into collective flames. Finally, the story underscores the ripple effect of inspiration. Ronaldo's words don't just silence Tom, they ignite a movement. Fans flood X with tributes, sharing how Ronaldo's drive pushed them to chase their own dreams. Emily, inspired by her idol, finds new purpose in her career. Even Tom, once consumed by envy, takes his first steps toward coaching kids, finding meaning in giving back. This reflects a core American value, the belief that one person's story can spark change. From MLK's speeches to viral TED Talks, we love stories that move us to act. I felt this in my life, inspired by a teacher's encouragement to pursue writing or a podcast that pushed me to try a new skill. To harness this, I now seek out stories, books, videos, even X-threads that light a fire in me, and I share them to inspire others. In practice, these lessons form a roadmap for living better. Envy can be tamed with gratitude. Authenticity builds stronger connections than perfection ever could. Resilience turns dreams into reality, one gritty step at a time. Redemption offers a second chance, and community makes it possible. Inspiration, meanwhile, is the fuel that keeps us moving. I'm applying these by setting small daily goals, writing 200 words, calling a friend, reflecting on my growth. I'm also more open about my struggles, like telling my team when I'm stuck, which has deepened our trust. Most importantly, I'm learning to celebrate others' wins, knowing they don't dim my own. This story, at its core, is about what it means to be human in a world that often feels divided. It's a reminder that sports, like life, isn't just about winning. It's about how we grow, connect, and lift each other up. Ronaldo's grace, Tom's courage, and the support of Mia, Jake, and Emily show us that greatness lies in authenticity, resilience, and redemption. These aren't just lessons for a soccer field, they're tools for navigating life's messiness with heart and purpose. Hey friends, if this story moved you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs a dose of inspiration. Subscribe to our channel and ring that bell so you don't miss more stories like this. Drop a comment below. Have you ever overcome envy or found redemption in a tough moment? Let's keep the conversation going.